Have you ever looked at an old photo of your parents from the 1960s and thought, how are they so slim without the gym, diet apps, or miracle shakes? Well, back then, life seemed simpler, and in a way, their bodies followed that rhythm. Today, we're surrounded by light products, calorie counters, and quick-fix weight loss promises. Yet something about that generation just worked differently. In this video, we'll travel back in time to uncover what was behind the so-called invisible diet of the 1960s, the lifestyle, habits, and even the mindset that kept people naturally in shape. Get ready for a nostalgic dive into kitchens that smelled like coffee and family dinners free of ultra-processed foods. Oh, and before our journey begins, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, because here, in every episode, we relive a delicious slice of America that time almost forgot. The 1960s were a turning point, a decade when the world seemed to change its rhythm, more colorful, bolder, and paradoxically simpler. In the United States, television became the heart of the home. Music filled living rooms with Elvis, the Supremes, and the Beatles. And the American dream meant serving a plentiful table, still prepared by hand. It was an era of optimism and movement, where being slim and active wasn't the result of radical diets, but of a lifestyle born between the streets and the home. The post-war prosperity brought full refrigerators and well-equipped kitchens. Yet food still came from backyard gardens or the local market. Family dinners were almost sacred. Everyone sat together, talked, and no one ate in front of the television, at least not yet. Eating was a social act, not a distraction. The generation of parents and grandparents who lived through that time valued the balance between pleasure and moderation, perhaps without realizing it was their secret to lasting health. Popular culture also set a new beauty standard. Women's magazines celebrated the discreet elegance of Audrey Hepburn, while men looked up to the effortless rebellion of James Dean. A slim body symbolized youth, vitality, and self-control, an aesthetic that reflected a collective desire for freedom and renewal. Even as social movements gained strength and counterculture began to bloom, daily discipline remained a quiet virtue. And there was another detail. Life moved at a different pace. People walked more, climbed stairs, and distances felt shorter. There wasn't a constant rush, nor the habit of killing time with screens. The body stayed active simply because daily life required it. Being slim in the 1960s was almost a natural consequence of living in a more human and less automated world. That decade became, unintentionally, the birthplace of a balanced relationship with food and the body itself, something that today feels like a lost luxury. It was in this setting that the invisible diet of the 1960s emerged, one that wasn't written in any book, but lived in every simple gesture of everyday life. The kitchen of the 1960s was a portrait of simplicity. The cupboards held real ingredients: flour, butter, eggs, and seasonal fruits. Meals were made at home, by familiar hands, and the smell of lunch would drift through the neighborhood. There were no delivery apps or prepackaged plastic meals. People cooked because it was part of life, and the result was a naturally balanced diet. Breakfast was the fuel of the day: eggs fried in butter, golden toast, and crispy bacon accompanied by a steaming cup of black coffee. Interestingly, bacon wasn't just about flavor, it was also the main source of fat in the kitchen at the time. The melted bacon grease, stored in glass jars, was used to fry, season, and add flavor to almost everything, from eggs to vegetables. Children ate simple cereals like cornflakes or Wheaties, soaked in whole milk, no protein bars or shakes. With 12 unpronounceable ingredients, lunch and dinner followed the same logic: roasted chicken, grilled steak, mashed potatoes, and boiled vegetables. Salads were made with what grew in the backyard: lettuce, tomatoes, and cucumbers, drizzled with olive oil and vinegar. Sandwiches, so typical of American life, were made with fresh, generous ingredients: tuna, turkey breast, and homemade mayonnaise. And when the cold set in, it was soup time: tomato, vegetable, or chicken, served in steaming bowls that warmed both body and soul. Desserts were simple, but memorable. Apple pies, milk puddings, buttery cakes, and colorful gelatin molds that decorated the family table. The funny thing is, no one called it a diet. It was simply the natural way of eating. Portions were smaller, meals had a set time, and eating was respected as a ritual. There were no distractions, no screens, no rush. Eating was a pause. And perhaps that was the greatest secret behind the slimness of that generation. The body followed the rhythm of life, and food was part of a harmony that now seems lost. The active lifestyle. In the 1960s, staying in shape was not a result of effort, but of habit. People walked more, took the stairs, and spent the whole day in motion. Daily life was the true personal trainer. Mowing the lawn, sweeping the yard, or going to the market was already a workout session. Children lived in the streets, playing until sunset. Bicycles, roller skates, and balls were extensions of childhood, and leisure always involved some form of movement. Few spent hours sitting still. The body was constantly in action because life demanded it. Cars existed, of course, but they were a luxury used in moderation. Walking to school, work, or church was a natural part of the routine. Movement was spontaneous, without workout schedules or daily step goals. This daily energy not only shaped slimmer bodies, but also lighter minds. Physical activity was not a burden or an aesthetic goal. It was simply living, and living required movement. ChatGPT, the influence of celebrities and media. In the 1960s, television and magazines set the pace of culture, bringing with them new ideals of beauty. Audrey Hepburn, with her delicate silhouette and natural elegance, represented the balance between lightness and sophistication. James Dean, on the other hand, brought a rebellious, slim and effortless vibe, seeming to say, "Being healthy is being authentic." These figures became mirrors for a generation that viewed the body not as an object of worship, but as a reflection of style and attitude. The media of the time reinforced this standard almost unconsciously. Commercials showed smiling families gathered around the table, eating simple, homemade meals. Women's magazines taught balanced recipes and household tips, while fashion ads highlighted slender bodies without artificiality. The ideal body was the real-life body, unshaped by daily routine, not by the gym. It's interesting to note how the relationship with food was different. Eating well was associated with family harmony, not guilt. Advertisements for margarine, cereals, and fresh products sold more of a lifestyle than a weight loss formula. People weren't bombarded with promises of miracle diets or slogans about burning fat in 7 days. The focus was on living with energy and a healthy appearance, not pursuing an unattainable perfection. Over time, this spontaneity was lost. Modern celebrities began to represent increasingly manufactured standards, and the media swapped the natural for the aesthetic. But looking back, we realize that the stars of the 1960s, without luxury gyms or digital filters, influenced the world with something far more powerful: simplicity. What we learned from the 1960s: diet. The main lesson from the 1960s is that balance came from simplicity. People ate real food, cooked at home, and respected their bodies. There were no fit products or miracle diets. There were moderate portions, set meal times, and fresh ingredients. Eating was a daily act, not a challenge. What's interesting is that nothing was forbidden. Bacon, butter, and whole milk were part of the table, but in natural quantities. The secret was not overindulging and staying active. Family meals created rhythm and connection, what we would now call mindful eating. In essence, the 1960s diet shows that health comes from routine, not restriction. Eating well was living well. It was that simple. The difference between the past and present. Comparing the 1960s with today is realizing how much the rhythm has changed. In the past, food was prepared at home with time and intention. Today, the microwave has replaced the stove, and dinner often happens in front of a screen. Eating has ceased to be a moment and turned into a task. The body also followed this transformation. Walking to work, playing in the street, or climbing stairs was part of daily life. Now, movement has to be scheduled at the gym. Natural effort has been replaced by haste. Modernity has brought convenience, but also distance. We've lost touch with food, with time, and with our own bodies. In the past, balance was a reflection of routine. Today, it's something we need to relearn, perhaps by looking back. When looking at the diet and lifestyle of the 1960s, we realized that the secret was never in counting calories or following trends, but in living in a more present and simple way. The food was real, movement was part of the day, and time seemed to move at a different pace, a pace that allowed us to breathe, feel, and enjoy. That generation didn't seek miracle diets, they sought balance. And perhaps this is what is most missing today: slowing down, reconnecting with the act of eating, and understanding that a healthy body is just the reflection of a purposeful life. Returning to the roots doesn't mean giving up progress, but remembering that the essentials haven't changed. The body still responds best to real food, rest, and a balanced routine. So, as you finish this video, think about how small actions can restore a bit of that lost harmony. Eating without rush, walking more, cooking with pleasure, these old habits continue to be the best path to well-being. If this content reminded you of the table from your childhood or how life seemed lighter, leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments, what memory from the 1960s or from your childhood kitchen has marked you the most?